So welcome to the Data Structures course beta launch. So today what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the course, talk a little bit about where to access materials, talk a little bit about the teacher testing group that we have, and then of course take any questions that you might have about the course or access the materials or anything else. So I'm going to start with a course overview. So let's take a dive into data structures in C++. So first of all, the Data Structures in C++ course is designed as a full-year course for advanced students. So I'll talk in a second about who the students are, or the students that the course is aimed at, who it's best suited for. But let me give you a little bit of an overview. So there are two main focuses of the course. First, it's to study and understand how to implement advanced data structures such as stacks, sets, and maps. But more importantly, it's really to give students the opportunity to solve problems by applying some of these data structures. So really focused on how do we use sets to solve problems, how do we use maps, not so much about the language or about the particular syntax of them. So who is the course for? So this course is intended for students that have completed a full year programming course in any language, such as our Intro to Computer Science in JavaScript or Python, but it's well suited for students who have previously completed the APCSA. So students coming from our intro courses should be able to handle the course, but the course is really designed for that post-APCSA student. So students coming from those intro courses may need a little bit of extra support as they go through the course. But really, the post-APCSA students should find that the course is appropriate for them. So we often get the question, why C++? So why do we design a post-APCSA course in C++ and not in Java? So as I mentioned earlier, the focus of the course is really about using advanced data structures to solve problems. Since C++ is more of a functional language compared to Java, it allows us to focus on the data structures without requiring students to write multiple classes. C++ allows us to go deeper into data structures with the explicit use of pointer variables that are not available in Java. Most of the basic C++ syntax is really similar or the same as Java. So there's really not a lot of syntax for students to learn. And then as they get into the data structures in the areas that are new to them, then they'll just be learning that in C++. But that concept and the concepts in the syntax are really transferable back to Java if they do choose to go back that way as well. So I wanted to take a minute to talk about the course structure since it's a little bit different than other courses we have on CodeHS. So it looks like a lot of people do have some experience on CodeHS, but this course will be a little bit different. First, the course does not use videos. So we found that many students tend to skip the videos with the higher level content. So instead, we focus on making more detailed explanations in our example programs. And I'll share a little bit about that format with you later. So next, we wanted to provide the students with an opportunity to really expand their programming beyond basic practice. So we were challenging them with longer, more detailed exercises. While we still start with some basic skill practice, once into the content, typical exercise solutions will run between 50 and 100 lines of code. Along similar lines, these exercises tend to be a little bit less structured and a little bit more open-ended. The good news is that it should provide some great opportunities for students to make the program their own. The downside is that this doesn't really lend itself to auto-graded assignments. And as of now, we don't have any C++ auto-graders, but we may be looking at adding them for some of the assignments in the future. Finally, this is really a project-driven course, and as such, students will have ample opportunities to create their own projects. Currently, there are about 12 multi-day projects included in the final project. These projects are typically around 150 lines of code, some a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter. But again, the idea here is to really kind of expand past the basics that we see in a lot of our courses, where exercises may take 5 or 10 minutes. Now, I think a lot of the exercises will take a day, maybe 2 days, and we get into projects that maybe take 3 or 4 days for students to work on. So the course is broken down into 8 modules. So I'm going to run through the 8 modules, then I'll come back and talk a little bit more detail. So the first three modules really lay the foundation for the course. The next four modules focus on learning and applying different data structures. And then the final module is a larger scale project. So our first module, C++ Basics, covers topics that students should have seen in another course. So it's really designed to help shake off the summer cobwebs, but at the same time introducing students to basic C++ syntax. So you can see some of the lessons in this first module are things like conditional statements and loops, input outputs, things like that. So these are all topics that we would have expected students to see in another course. And so we go through them relatively quickly, looking at the C++ syntax. And for things like input output, that's where we're going to see some syntax differences from Java. But again, conditional statements, loops, basic data types, they're all basically the same as Java. And so we go through these topics relatively quickly, just to kind of refresh students' memories. So our second module is focused on traditional computer science topics or tools, but these are now tools that many of our introductory courses don't necessarily cover, such as file input output and error handling. And there's also a few topics in here that are a little bit more unique to C++, such as structs and vectors. So again, it's still kind of a basic concepts module, but these are things that are probably starting to be new to students and that are going to help form the foundation for the data structures that we're going to get into later. So in Module 3, we do two things. First, we introduce students to the concept of using header files to create their own libraries. Second, we're introducing them to the CodeHS utilities library. So like some of our other languages, such as JavaScript or the console version of Java, we do have a C++ library that makes some of the basic tasks easier. So for example, we have a read int, a read line, basic input output. We make it easier with this library. But unlike some of our other courses, we wanted to make sure the library was more transparent. So we start the students off without the library in the first couple modules, but then we show them what this library is and give them the option of using it as they move into the data structures portion of the course. So again, the focus of the course is really around the problem solving and where there's areas that we feel that C++ language is a little bit more challenging, like reading lines in, things like that. We end up providing some of that in this utilities library for the students, but we make it more transparent so that they know that they're using the library that's on CodeHS versus the standard C++ libraries. So from here, we start to get into our data structures. Each of these modules tends to alternate between instruction and projects in the lessons. For example, after introducing stacks, students have the opportunity to create a reverse Polish notation calculator. I'm not sure if any of you used reverse Polish notation calculators in college, but it was one of my favorites. And so I wanted to make sure we gave the students an opportunity to experience them. So the next unit, students tackle associative data structures such as maps and sets. They then apply these skills to create a simulated FIRST robotics competition scoring system. We take a much deeper dive into recursion in this course. We start by looking at basic functional recursion, then progress into procedural recursion, and then finally into backtracking. The culminating project in this unit has students using a backtracking algorithm to solve a Sudoku puzzle. So our last instructional unit dives headfirst into pointers. Pointers can be tricky, but this is one of the features that helps distinguish C++ from other languages such as Java. From there, we then apply the concept of pointers to linked lists and graphs to kind of finish off. And then our final project, we have students really building their own data structure to solve this problem of creating virtual lines at an amusement park. So again, going beyond what a basic queue can do, students really need to research it and build their own data structure to help solve this problem. So with that, I'm going to take a break for a second and see if you guys have questions about any of the content that you've seen so far. If you do, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A. All right, so it doesn't look like there's any questions yet, but that's okay. So let me talk a little bit about how to access the material. So you can follow this course link, codehs.com/data_struct/start, and then enter the class code, which is 10577. And what this would do is this will enroll you in our beta course. So this is just, you're basically enrolling as a student, and it allows you to go through the content as a student. You won't be able to create new sections on this just yet until we actually have our full launch, but it will give you access to all of the content. So what is in the beta? So the beta has all examples and exercises, and check for understanding quizzes. It has all the projects available for you to go through. It has some of the unit quizzes as of right now. So right now, I think you'll see the end of unit quizzes for units 1, 2, and 3. 4 will be developed later this week, and 5, 6, and 7 will be rolled out in subsequent weeks. There's no lesson plans or auto graders as of yet. And as of right now, we have a modified content format that I'm going to review here. So as I mentioned earlier, the course will rely on more detailed examples in lieu of videos. So eventually these examples will be a detailed explanation on top with a sample program or activity below. And all of these will kind of fit into one format as you see on the right here. But for right now, we don't have this format developed yet. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see the notes on one activity, and then on the next activity, you're going to see the example exercise. And I mentioned this because you will sometimes in the notes read about a reference to an example below. And if you see a reference to an example below, that's because eventually that will be below, but right now it is actually on the next page. So keep that in mind as you're reading through some of the content. You can also find the syllabus, codehs.com/syllabus/12223. And you can find the course overview from our catalog or from codehs.com/course/data_structures/overview. Okay. Questions on any of the access material? Okay. Let me talk a little bit about the teacher testing group and some of the resources we have for teacher testing. Because this is this course is full of completely new material, we wanted to make sure that the material we're providing for teachers and students are highly effective, informative, and fun. So in order to be sure of this, we'd like to connect with teachers that expect to use the course with their students on a more individual level and give you a chance to be heard. So we understand commitment levels and availability of timeframes may vary greatly depending on your situation. So we have multiple ways to get involved. Testers can be given access to our feedback system where comments and suggestions can be left on individual items as you go through the course, or you can choose to be part of phone calls with the CodeHS developers and other testers. So if you want to join, again, it's the level of detail that you want to participate in is totally up to you, but you can go to codehs.com/data_struct/testing. And it brings you to a Google form that you can fill out and just let us know. Again, if you just want to have access to our feedback system where you can leave feedback on particular exercises, you can do that. If you want to be more involved and work your way through the content, you can do that as well. So one question we often get is, when is the course going to be available? We haven't set a full launch date just yet, but we are expecting it to be about the second or third week of July. Once we have a full launch, that's when you'll be able to create new sections, and you'll see it in our course catalog with the opportunity to create new sections. Until then, you're welcome to use the beta, and you'll see the content there, but the course will be not available to create sections for students. So that's what I have for today. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I can hang around here for a little while to answer any questions that might come up. Just a reminder too, We do have 2 more course launches coming up. Tomorrow we have our game design in Unity course, and we have our IB computer science course coming up next week. You can find both of these at codehs.com/virtual events where you can register, as well as see video links to our previous launches that we had from our previous courses. So question about will there be instructional videos in the future? As of right now, we're not necessarily planning on putting instructional videos to this. We do have, like I said, detailed explanations. Some of the explanations use GIF files that do have some motion with them, but we're not necessarily planning right now on putting videos to this course. But again, I think it'll be interesting to see what your takes are on this as you go through it, and if the videos are really, if the course is really missing videos, then we can take that feedback in and look at creating them in the future. So again, if you have more questions, let me know, but please take time to join the beta and check out the course. Go through, let us know if there's issues that you see with it, let us know feedback, things that you'd like to see more of, like to see less of, things like that. It would be great. And again, Ebony and I will stay around if you have more questions. But that's all for our presentation for today. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the course. It was a lot of fun making the course. I know it's our first C++ course that we've made here at CodeHS. And it's also our first real advanced course, taking it beyond AP-CSA. So hopefully you guys enjoy the format, but let us know what you think, and we can make some changes as needed.